Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Okay, so welcome. So for this Tuesday, we will discuss about Jiva, Brahman, and Atma, and also the things connected. Because we are following the tradition of Vedic knowledge, and it's also part of Bhakti to have the basic knowledge of the material situation, since it has been explained that we are Jivas, and the Jiva situation is that he or she is conditioned by the material world. Well, actually there are two kinds of Jivas. The other kind of Jiva is unconditioned, actually. We will talk more about that later. There is a verse we will start with to conduct our discussion, and that is Bhagavad Gita, chapter 13, text 20. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So the verse says, Prakritim Purusam Cheva Vidyanadi Ubhavapi Vikaram Chagunam Cheva Vidi Prakriti Sambhavan. Material nature and the living entities should be understood to be beginningless. Their transformations and the modes of matter are products of material nature. So in this verse from Bhagavad Gita we learn the basics. The basics are that we are living entities, eternally so, and material nature is also eternally so. And Prabhupada is saying in the commentary, by the knowledge given in this chapter, one can understand the body, the field of activities, and the knowers of the body, both the individual soul and the supersoul. The body is the field of activity and is composed of material nature. The individual soul that is embodied and enjoying the activities of the body is the Purusha, or the living entity. He is one knower and the other is the supersoul. Of course, it is to be understood that both the supersoul and the individual living entity are different manifestations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The living entity is in the category of its energy, and the supersoul is in the category of its personal expansion. So before we read on, we'll just take a look again at this. So here we have a few terms. Let's see if we can put them up. So today we were going to discuss Jiva. It's too small. You can have a little bigger. Jiva. Yeah. And then we have, is mentioned here, the Prakriti. So we'll write it as we would do in Sanskrit. So I don't write, any vocal after the R consonant. It's included. Each consonant has the vocal included, like this. Jiva, Prakriti, and Purusha. Yep. So we don't have the acritic marks. So for this S it would be, as you see in the diacritical romanization of the Sanskrit, there is this dot under the S, so it's uttered Purusha, like this, not Purusa, Purusha. And similarly, Prakriti, it has this dot under the R, so it's Ri, yeah, Prakriti, yeah. And Jiva, it also has a long E, which we don't have the symbol for here, but it's understood it should be a long E. So not Jiva, but Jiva. So Jiva, Prakriti, and Purusha. So here Prabhupada is stating that The Jiva is also another name of the Jiva. It's called a living entity. Yeah. And it's also called, what more was it? Individual soul. Yep. Let's see if we can put them together. Living entity and individual soul. And the individual soul that is embodied. So here we have another information. It is embodied. Yeah. So what does it mean to be embodied? That we'll also discuss a little later. At least we have now some information. What is a Jiva? It's an embodied living entity, an individual soul. Yeah. And he's also called a Purusha. But also Purusha is also actually sometimes God is also called Purusha, and Prakriti is called the material nature. In the sense that the Jiva also has the capacity to be enjoyer, it can also be called a Purusha. And in that way then the Jiva is also a Purusha dominating over the Prakriti, or Prakriti also means that which is enjoyed. Yeah, so we can write that here, enjoyer. Or so we keep it short, we can write object of enjoyment. Yeah, that's not short. Enjoyable, sorry, like this. It is enjoyable. Yeah, it's an enjoyer and the object of enjoyment, or the enjoyable. Yeah, enjoyable. So it's possible to enjoy the Prakriti. Purusha is taking the role as the enjoyer of the Prakriti. Is it clear? Yeah. And the Jiva is taking that role in the material world. So we can write here, because it's not the real Purusha. You can write here it's a small Purusha. Yeah. Or I just write Purusha with small letters. The Purusha with big letters, that is Bhagavan. Yeah. Okay, so let's go on. Of course, it is to be understood that both the Supersoul and the individual entity are different manifestations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we have also here mentioned the Supersoul. Yeah, so we can mention the Supersoul over here. Maybe down here, yeah. Super soul. So what is the super soul? It's also described as Paramatma. Yeah, maybe we should put it like that. I write Paramatma with big letters. Since all the Sanskrit we are writing with big letters here. Yeah. Paramatma. Yeah. Yeah, so at any time please let me know in the chat if anything should be repeated or is unclear or anything like that, and we'll try and cooperate with you. So he is the knower and the other is the super. He is one knower and the other is the super soul. So there are two knowers. So two knowers, that's called Kshetragya. So then in that way we can also write Kshetra. Kshetra means field, or in this context it means the body. Okay, means the body. Yeah. And then the next one is Kshetragya. This is explained elsewhere, these Sanskrit terms, in this 13th chapter. 13th chapter is dealing with this technical, you can say, things regarding the elements of material nature, like Sankhya. The knower of the body. Yeah. So if you can take the knower of the body, in other words, it means it's called cognizance. To be able to perceive, yeah, feel. We hear, we see, we feel. This is our field where we are having sense input. Yeah, so we know what's going on because we have consciousness. Yeah. So the embodied living entity individual is, in other words, conscious. Yeah. Okay, so let's go on. Yeah. The living entity is in the category of his energy. So the living entity is the energy of God. The supersoul is in the category of his personal expansion. Okay, so let's see if we can make some sense out of this. The living entity is in the category of his energy. So let's write the living entity again here. That was the Jiva. And then supersoul under there, yeah. Or we can say Paramatma. Paramatma. So in that sense, we can now write Jiva Atma. Yeah. Like with a long A, so two A's after each other. Jiva Atma. Yeah. Paramatma. Yeah. So Jiva Atma, he is, what is he? The Lord's energy. Yeah. And the Paramatma is the Lord's expansion. Yeah. It's a personal expansion. Yeah. So there is a word for that, and that is so we can write that in a parenthesis, is Vishnu Tattva. Yeah. And the Lord's energy, in another sense, the Lord's marginal energy, actually. Yeah. Because if he was the Lord's personal energy, he would be Vishnu Tattva, but he is the Lord's marginal energy. And that's why he is Jiva Tattva. So does it make sense? We have two different categories here. In this way we hope, if the Lord is merciful with us, that we can make sense of the Jiva's position. In other words, we can make sense of our position in the material world. At least from a theoretical point of view, it has been described. It's difficult to realize. The process given to us is the path of Bhakti Yoga. Part of the Bhakti Yoga involves hearing and chanting. So we're hearing about the Lord as we hear directly from Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, his verses, and also we hear the commentaries of the Acharyas, Srila Prabhupada, In that way we can do Shravanam Kirtanam, and also we chant the whole name. So one way is to chant and hear about Krishna from the Bhagavad Gita and other books like this. And in another way you can also chant simply just directly the whole name. In both these ways we can get spiritual realization. So the marginal energy, that is called Tatashta. Tatasta Shakti. Like this. And Paramatma, he belongs to the Lord's personal expansions. So he is Antaranga Shakti. Yeah. And both the Jivatma and the Paramatma are they operating. In this context, they're both operating in the material world. That's our place. Because we talked about the kshetra, or the body, that is in the material world. So that's called Bahir Anga Shakti. Jagat. Yeah. Or Jagad Anda. Yeah. So you say here, that's the Lord's material energy. Yeah. The Lord's material world. Yeah. We can say energy. The same thing. Yeah. It can be called something else also. Anyway, that will do it for now. So the Lord's material energy, it's a place where the Jivatma is working together with the Paramatma. The Jivatma, in other words, is not independent. That's one of the features of the soul. It's not independent. It has to have the help from the Lord in the form of Paramatma to navigate. Yeah. Brahman Sarva Bhutanam Yantra Rudhani Mayaya. So this Krishna explains in the where is that? Maybe that's also in the 13th chapter actually. He says he's directing. He's in everybody's heart, and he's directing the wanderings of living entities as the Paramatma. Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Riddesh Adhyuna Tishtati Brahmayam Sarva Bhutani Yantra Rudhani Mayaya. So in other words, the Paramatma is the director and the Jivatma is the directed. So you have if I just shorten down this. This way, TL for the Lords. Just take this, like that, and then I can write on the side here that he is the director. Yeah, and we are the directed. Yeah. And the Lord's material energy, well, that is the what you can call it. Yeah, it's the place of action. Yeah. Yeah, has been described as a place. Our body is a place, and also where the body is moving, it's also a place. In this sense, also the body with its senses is also called a field. So it's in a philosophical sense, the jiva or soul is moving inside this body. Through the body, it's moving around. So that has been explained. It happens through the material elements. So let's see if we can read some more in the purport. Both material nature and the living entity are eternal. That is to say that they existed before their creation. Yeah. The material manifestation is from the energy of the Supreme Lord, and so also are the living entities. But the living entities are of the superior energy. Both the living entities and material nature existed before this cosmos was manifested. Yeah. So what is the cosmos? That is the, we also can write here, Lord's material energy or cosmos. Yeah. Let's see if we move this. Yeah. It's the cosmos. Big C is a great creation. Yeah. And then material nature was absorbed in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Mahavishnu. And when it was required, it was manifested by the agency of Mahat Tattva. Yeah. So it's been explained that you have three Vishnus. So one Vishnu is in the spiritual world, and he's breathing out literally all the universes. In his Yoga Nidra position, he's lying on the causal ocean, and he's dreaming. In his dream state, he's breathing out all the universes. One universe from each pore, hair pore of his body. If you look at, you have a very small, pores. From each of these pores can grow a hair. Instead, on the Lord is coming out the universe. Yeah. By the agency of Mahatattva. So Mahatattva means the sum total of all the material elements. In Sankhya they're counted to be 24, and the 25th one is the Lord entering and setting it all into motion in the feature as time element, Kala. Yeah. So the living entities, they're also absorbed in the body of Mahavishnu. As Prabhupada says here, similarly the living entities are also in him, and because they are conditioned, they are averse to serving the Supreme Lord. Yeah. So this conditioned state has been explained. So let's see here, we write the Jivas conditioning. Yeah. So what is that conditioning? Has been explained. It's three states of consciousness. You write that here. It's the Jagrata. Yeah, how do you write this? The waking, we write it in English. Waking state. It's a dream state. And it's the deep sleep. Yeah. That's the Jiva's conditioning. It's existing in the waking state, existing in the dream state, and existing in the sleeping state. Yeah. So in that way, it's explained elsewhere that you have Jiva is existing in three states, or it's kind of three types of Jiva actually. So you have a Jiva which is awake, Jagarti. Then you have a Jiva which is sleeping, is a Swapna, and deep sleep is Susupti. Yeah. I'll write it here, Jagrati. The dream state is called Swapna, yeah. And the deep sleep is called Sushupti. So in the deep sleep, there is no experience of consciousness. But after coming out of the deep sleep, one can have an understanding that one has been in the deep sleep. So that's another evidence of the Jiva being apart from these three states. So the fourth state is actually there. So I'll not write it under here because it's actually unconditioned Jiva. So write Jiva's liberated state. That is called the Turya. Yeah. Turya actually means fourth state. And it's a transcendental state. Yeah. See. So what happens when the Jiva is liberated? Then the Jiva is happy, naturally, spiritually happy, and is not going to go back to being awake in the material world, dreaming or deep sleeping. It is actually over. That has been explained. Because you have four states of you can say situations. Okay, let's just begin with the two different kinds of jivas. Yeah. So this kind of jiva, when it's conditioned, is called nitya baddha. Yeah. And both these jivas are tatastha shakti. That's another thing. It's still that even in the liberated state, because it has been born from the tatastha shakti. Actually, it's not born, as you know. It's always existed, as we learn, but it's coming from there. It's an energy. It's part. It's a tatastha shakti energy. That's a jiva. Yeah. So here. Nitya Mukta. So what does the word Nitya mean? So let's just get some space here. We'll use up. Jiva's liberated state is called Nitya Mukta. Then the Jiva is a Nitya Mukta. Nitya Bandha. Yeah. Okay. Okay, let's put it like this. It looks similar. Yeah. Okay, so there are four states. You can say, yeah, let's write them down. 4 states. It's Nitya. Let's see. So already mentioned Nitya. Yeah, that means no beginning and no end. So I just write no B, no E, yeah? And I can write fully. And no beginning, no end, Yeah. So I don't have space to write fully. Or maybe I can just put it here. Yeah, here I can write it fully. No beginning. Oops. No end. Yeah. And then you have another state. So in that way, there is no trace of any beginning of the liberated jiva, which has always been liberated. Yeah. And the jiva's conditioning is also is no trace of the beginning. Yeah. And then you have anitya. So that is it has beginning again. Has beginning and end. Yeah. So I've just shortened that down to B and E. Yeah. So I wrote it in full. Has beginning and end. Nitya has no beginning and end. Yeah. It's the opposite. No beginning, no end. So let's see an example. We can say example of the nitya. An example of nitya is Lord Krishna. Yeah. He has no beginning and end, right? Everybody agree? And anitya, I think you also will not disagree with me if I say that our body is definitely having in the beginning. We can all know that our body started at one point, it had a birth, and it will also have a death. So it has beginning and end. So that is the body. Yeah. Yeah. Like that. And then we have two more. What can that be? Let's see. It was mentioned here. Was it mentioned in the Sanskrit? Prakritim Purusham Cheva Vidi Anadi Ubhavapi. So Anadi means without beginning. Yep. Anadi. So let's go then and write that. Since that's also relevant here then. Anadi. Yeah. So Anadi means no beginning. Yeah. But here comes the difference. What is the difference? Is Anadi the same as Nitya? No. It's described that he has no beginning, but no, wait a minute. How is this again? But it has to end. Yeah, exactly. Has end. Yeah. No beginning. Has end. Yep. And then we have the last one, ananta. So as you can hear that word, anadi, adi, yep. Adi, yep. Adi means beginning. So an means no beginning. Yep. Does it make sense? Anta. Anta. So that means no end. Does it make sense to you? Please tell me if it doesn't. We're trying to explain. So Ananta then means it has a beginning, but no end. Because that's in the word itself, anta. It doesn't have end, right? So let's see what we have here now. Yeah, maybe we can get so they look alike. Put this up here. Yeah. So nitya, no beginning and end. No beginning and no end. That is Krishna. The example of nitya is anitya. Of nitya is Krishna, and the example of anitya has a beginning and end. That is the body. And the example of nitya, which has no beginning and end, it is Krishna. He's definitely never started, never ended. Aham eva sameva agre. I was there in the very beginning, Krishna says. Paschat aham yadeta cha. I will also be there when everything is finished. He's talking about the material world. He's going through creation and destruction. So the whole material world, for that matter, has beginning and end. It's anitya. It says in Bhagavad Gita itself, anityam asukam. Yeah. So the body, we can just write, matter, the material, world, whatever. We can write so many, things like this. And anadi has no beginning, has no end. So we have an example of anadi, but it has an end. Okay, so what is that? It is the Jiva Bhuta. Let's just write it like that, because it's important we get the definitions correct here, otherwise we get in trouble. We are going to write, according to our philosophy. Our Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy is explaining like this, that we are Jiva Bhutas. Yeah. So that is the thing with the Jiva Bhuta. That means a Jiva. Let's see if we can go up here and take a look at that. A Jiva Atma, Tatashta Shakti, can also be called Jiva Bhuta when it's in the material world. Yeah. So that's the conditioned Jiva, you can say. It can also be called Jiva Bhuta. So Bhuta means the Bhuta. Let's see. It's a reference to 5 elements. The gross elements. Yeah. So the Bhuta, 5 elements. What is that? Bhumirapa Nalavayu Kamana Buddhirevach. Bhumirapa Nalavayu. Yeah, it's earth, water, fire, air, ether. Yeah. So the Jiva Bhuta is under these 5. Yeah. It's just we need more space here. We have to erase this. So in that way, the Jiva Bhuta, it was said here, yeah. Vidyanadi Ubhavapir. Both of them, both the Prakriti, material nature, and the living entities. The living entities here also called Purusha. We know that the original Adi Purusha, that is Krishna, Govindam Adi Purusha. So he is, of course, without beginning. But also, the living entities are also called the Purusha, and actually what is referred to here as Purusha is not actually the Lord, because the Lord is more than Anadi, right? The Lord is, of course, Anadi sometimes is used also to describe the Supreme Lord. Anadir, Adir Govinda. It's also in the Brahma Samhita. It says Govindam Adi Purusham, and also Anadir, Adir Govinda. This person doesn't have a beginning, and also nobody is but there Anadi actually means nobody is greater, nobody is before that person. Equal, nobody is equal or before. But here it especially refers to the living entities. Yeah. So in the commentary also to this verse, then also it is explained like that. That both living entities and material nature existed before this cosmos was manifested. So when the cosmos is manifested, then you have temporary state. Yeah, the temporary state. Yeah, and then the other side here is eternal state. Yeah. So so you have to see that this eternal state that's going on is realized, is experienced in the Turiya. Yeah, that's the fourth state. Yeah, in the transcendental realm, it's not experienced in the material realm, because in the material realm we have time. Yeah, we have material time. Yeah, temporary state. Oh, I lost that one. Yeah, let's see. Temporary state. Yeah, and that's because of time. Yeah, is material time is ticking. Yeah. Because of material time, you have a temporary state. Yeah. So in that way, the Jiva is conditioned. But now comes the good news. The Ananta, when the Jiva is free from the material nature, it started. Yeah. So that is the Jivan Mukta. So you have Jiva Bhuta and Jivan Mukta. Yeah. Jiva Mukta is the Jiva which was liberated. So in other words, it's possible for us Jivas to be liberated from the material world. That is called Jivan Mukta. Yeah. So Jiva Bhuta is called Anadi. It has no beginning, but it can have an end, because it can become a Jivan Mukta. So when it steps over, so when it actually ends its material existence, which is happening by the process of Bhakti Yoga, as Krishna is explaining in the Bhagavad Gita, then the Jiva Bhuta state is discontinued, it stops, and the Jiva Bhuta transforms into a Jivan Mukta. So then it is Ananta. Its conditioned state, or here Ananta means that it got its start of liberation. Its liberating process started, right? That we can say. Can we agree about that? The liberation started from a point. Started from a point. And according to this, then the conditioning did not start from a point. Conditioning did not start from a point. Yeah. Yeah. Like that. Yeah. So in that way, it's conditioning. Yeah. So this is then the happy state of the Jiva from the start of liberation. Yeah, from the point of liberation, there is light in the tunnel. There is good hopes. Yeah. Does it make sense? So in that way, this Bhakti Yoga process is so amazing that simply by hearing and chanting about Lord Krishna, one is entering the path of the Jiva and Muktas. So in that sense, the start of the liberation of us conditioned Jivas is starting from the point where we're doing Shravanam, Kirtanam, hearing and chanting about Krishna. Yeah. As long as we don't do any spiritual life, then we are a Jiva Bhuta, and we cannot trace back any start of that. And it may also just continue forever if we don't take to the spiritual process. So in that sense, it's also called Nitya Baddha, the conditioned Jiva. Yeah. But actually, it's said that there the word Nitya is actually means Anadi, because we know it doesn't fit the definition of having no beginning and no end, because we agree that it doesn't have any beginning. That was the translation of the word Anadi here in Bhagavad Gita 13:20. But it definitely has an end. It's not eternally going on, because otherwise it wouldn't have any meaning. Why we at all discuss, the Bhakti Yoga process, if there was no scope for the Nitya Bandha to end the conditioning. So in that way, it is just to have a coin word for a situation of Baddha, so it's easy to understand for everybody. But when we go deeper into it, we understand that the Baddha of the Jiva is Anadi. But the Mukta, there is a kind of Jiva which always was liberated. That's also been stated. They actually never fell. So these are the eternal associates of the Lord in the spiritual world. They may never fall. And then that way they actually fit the term Nitya, Mukta, Jivas. But both of them are Tatashta Shakti. Both of them are born. We can't use the word born really, because it doesn't have any beginning. But they are manifestations of the Tatashta Shakti of the Lord. Did we write that above here? Yeah. The Jiva Atma. Yeah. And then in the description to this video, we also mentioned Brahman. Let's see if we can talk about that also, by the grace of the Lord. First, let's just read on for the rest of the purport here. If I read it already, it doesn't matter. These things we can just read on and on, because it always gives new depth. Because the topics of the Lord they're full of rasa, full of taste, and they're also ever fresh. That's why we can just read the Bhagavad Gita and the commentaries of Srila Prabhupada again and again, and we will also get new understandings. Okay, so let's just read from... that is the mystery of this material creation. Actually, the living entity is originally the spiritual part and partial of the Supreme Lord. But due to his rebellious nature, he is conditioned within material nature. It really does not matter how these living entities or superior entities of the Supreme Lord have come in contact with material nature. Yes, so they're also called superior. So then you have then we can go back to the first page here where we have talked about Prakriti. Then you have Para Prakriti. And Apara Prakriti, because that's mentioned in that verse in Bhagavad Gita. Aparayam itastvanyam prakriti vidime param. So Krishna has mentioned the 8 material elements, starting with the 5 growths, which I have mentioned: earth, water, fire, air. Earth, water, fire, air, and ether. Bhumir, apo, Nalo, Vayu, Kam. And then he mentioned the 3 subtle elements, Manu, Buddhir, and Ahankara. And then he says, Aparayam, Itastuanyam, Prakriti, Vidime, Param. But above these 8 material elements, which are called Apara Prakriti. So, let's see. So, Para Prakriti and Apara Prakriti. So, we have 2 types of Prakriti. Yeah, so both are enjoyable. But the Para Prakriti is definitely more enjoyable. Because they are the Atma. Yeah. So Atma is as we mentioned, Jiva Atma. So that means it also means it's the same thing as Atma also. Yeah, you can say Atma, Jiva Atma. Yeah. And then you have Apara Prakriti, and that is Stula and Sukshma Sharira. And actually all the other things also. But you can just say Stula and Sukshma. It's gross and subtle. Yep. Gross and subtle. Yeah. So I mentioned Sharira because that's usually what we think about. So Stula means the 5 gross elements: earth, water, fire, air, ether, and Sukshma is 3 subtle elements: mind, intelligence, and false ego, or just ego. And in that way, there are 2 bodies: is a gross body and a subtle body. Yeah. So what is a gross body? Yeah, we already explained, so we don't need to write that down. But it's called Sharira. Yeah. Actually, it's divided into 3. You have the from the Tamaguna, Tamas, Rajas, and Sattva. Yeah. So in that way, you have the Apara Prakriti working. Yeah. So I write that over here. Apara Prakriti. Yeah. So you can divide it into 3 elements. So this is important for us to know because we are operating as a conditioned jiva, a jiva bhuta. We are operating under Apara Prakriti. So then under tamas, from the Prakriti is also, that's another thing actually we can write here. Apara Prakriti is from 3 modes of nature. Yeah. 3 gunas. Yeah. 3 material gunas. Yeah. So these 3 gunas are mentioned here. So 3 so these are the 3 gunas: tamas, rajas, and sattva. So now we're talking about the inferior nature. Yeah. So from tamas is created the tan matra, or you can say we can call them the gross elements. Yeah. Which we mentioned before: earth, water, fire, air, ether. And included in these are also the sense objects. That means from these objects we also get the sense experience of taste, smell, touch, form. Taste, smell, touch, form. And what's the last one? Sound. Yeah. Sound you get from ether. Touch you get from air form you get from fire, taste you get from water, and smell you get from the earth. Yeah. So that's all apara prakriti in the tamoguna. Yeah. And then in the rajaguna, oh, I lost it. Sorry. See where did I get? Yeah. And then apara prakriti in the rajaguna. So this is the situation we have as a jiva in the material world, that we have to deal with these things. Apara prakriti in the rajaguna is manifesting the senses and intelligence. Yeah. So these are actually the start of the creation of senses and intelligence is subtle. So in other words, the rajaguna is more subtle than the tamoguna. However, the senses are transforming into becoming gross senses. The gross, senses made of earth, water, fire, air, and ether. In the beginning, the senses are subtle. Yeah, this has been explained. There is a process called it's called karana, trivit karana. The example is given in the Upanishad, that you have these gross elements are transformed. I mean, they come as a transformation of the subtle elements. In the beginning, they exist in the subtle form. You have earth, water, fire, air, ether existing in the subtle form, and then these are mixing with each other. Something like you have half of the subtle element, and then it mixed with 4 fractions from each of the other elements in the subtle form, so they mix together, and then it becomes the gross element. It's like a technical explanation. So in that way, they are transformed from subtle to gross by the process of mixing with each other. Okay, so then sattva guna manifests the mind and demigods. Yeah. So the demigods, they are in charge of the senses and of the sense objects. Yeah. So for example, we have our eye seeing power is in charge of the god of light, the sun god, because we cannot see without light. And our tongue is in charge of the god for water, because we cannot taste without water. And in that way it goes on. So they're manifested from the sattva guna. So in other words, we are in a situation here in the material world as a jiva bhuta. We are entrapped, packed in by these gross elements, subtle elements, and on top of that we have also the mind and the demigods. Yeah. So that's the situation of the Bada Jiva. Yeah, we can call Nitya Bada Jiva or the Bada Jiva. So we have the two states of Jiva. We can just repeat that again. As a state of Badha / Mukta. Yeah. So that means bound and liberated. Yeah. And then what about the soul? Well, you can call the Atma Jiva Atma for soul. Yeah. Although in the West, very often they talk about the soul. They actually talk about the sukshma. Yeah. Sukshma Sharira, but that is actually, the subtle body, which we are talking about here. Stula and Sukshma, yeah, gross and subtle, and then you have, the Sharira. Yeah. Sharira. That means, let's see, body. Yeah. So it can be Stula or Sukshma. Yeah. And we have both of them. Yeah. But Sharira, it means Shriyat iti Sharira. Shriyat iti Sharira. Yeah. Sharira means Anitya. Yeah. Anitya. It is in the category of the four states of an object. Yeah, it could be Nitya, Anitya, Anadi, or Ananta. There's four different states an object can have. So the Sharira is definitely Anitya. Yeah. Destructible. Yeah. Okay, so then what about Brahman? Okay, let's see if we can understand anything about that, by the grace of the Lord. So that will be, how is that in relation to the soul? Let's see. What does the next verse say, actually? It starts here, we almost written over it, sorry for that. So that's verse 21. 13-21, yeah. Karya karana kartaritve hetu prakriti ruchyate purusha sukha dukhanam bhuktaritve hetu ruchyate. Yeah. Nature is said to be the cause of all material causes and effects, whereas the living entity is the cause of the various sufferings and enjoyments in this world. Yeah. So what is that? Let's see. Zoom this a little. Yeah. So So Prabhupada says, the different manifestations of body and senses among the living entities are due to material nature. There are 8,400,000 different species of life, and these varieties are creations of the material nature. They arise from the different sensual pleasures of the living entity, who thus desires to live in this body or that. When he is put into different bodies, he enjoys different kinds of happiness and distress. His material happiness and distress are due to his body, and not to himself as he is. Because we learned that the Jiva or Atma is free, actually. It's packed into the elements, but actually it is free in the sense that it is it's different. Yeah, did we learn that? Can you remember that? We talked about aparyam itastvanyam prakriti vidime param. Yeah, so the Jiva is actually param. Jiva bhuta mahavo yayedam daryate jagat. If anybody can help me where that, which number has that verse, or otherwise I can find it myself. Give me a second. Yeah. I can look up in verse, in the 15th chapter, verse 7. Yeah. Let's see, how did we get here? Oh, that's too far. Yeah. Yeah. Here's described. Let's see. So you can see from different angles of vision from the different verses Krishna is speaking. Hopefully we can get some more information here. Yeah, so here we see text 7, so that's chapter 15, 15:7. Mamaivam shajiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana mana shashtani indriyani prakritistani karshati. So here Krishna says, the living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Yeah. So we are parts of the Lord, and we are also having that eternal nature. Jiva loke. Now we're in the world. Loke means also world. So we're in the world of the conditions, material conditions. That's why we call Jiva Bhuta the conditioned living entity. As I earlier explained, Bhuta refers to being entangled in the 5 elements, of the gross elements. And from these it also continues, the senses, everything has to do with that. Our senses are dealing with these gross elements. So in one sense, it then includes, our whole condition with all the, elements, which are enumerated as 24 in number. In the 13th chapter, I think that's also stated there. Yeah, so we are sanatana, there it is, we are eternal. Yeah, but mana shashtani indriyani. So we have the mind, and we have the senses. So here it says that we have 6 senses, because the mind is also included here as a sense. Otherwise we learn that we have 5 senses, but the mind in itself can also be counted as a sense. Yeah, because all the sense input is happening in the mind. Yeah. So we can write that up here, so we understand our situation. We have the mind here. If this thing will work. Yeah. And then we have outside here. Maybe I can even paint here. Okay, I can just write. Senses. Can I write like an arrow? Something like this? Okay, I was hoping to find this. Okay, anyway. Yeah. Yeah, so senses are pointing like that. So they're entering the sense input, yeah? They're entering the mind. We all know, when we're sleeping, we are digesting. And then you have also the intelligence. Actually, it said that the mind is coming after. Just watch. Give me a second, I'll explain this. They go to the intelligence. Yeah. So, let's see if we can have enough space here to make our point. So then intelligence. Yeah. Something like this. Yeah. So the intelligence, if you see the sign here, I try to illustrate that intelligence is kind of a gatekeeper of the mind. It may block. See, senses are giving information. That's what I mean by writing senses here. It sends information. And intelligence is the next door neighbor of the senses, as we learned. The intelligence is created from the mode of passion, and also the senses are internal senses, which later are manifested as gross senses. But actually they are subtle. So they're dealing with all this in a subtle way, and intelligence is guiding the senses what to do and what not to do. But actually one who is making the choice, that is the mind, is a choice maker. Yeah. So he's making a choice. Should I go to the right? Should I go to the left? and intelligence is then trying to give some good. If the intelligence is in goodness, it will guide the mind to go to the good sense objects. If it's in the passion, it will go to passionate sense objects. If the intelligence is so unlucky to be in the mode of ignorance, then we'll go to ignorant objects. Yep. So that's actually very important, because we should have our intelligence in the mode of good. We should have, either in ignorance, passion, or goodness. Yeah. So good intelligence is needed, because then it can help the mind to make the right choices. Does it make sense? So how do we get good intelligence? We need to have vidya. It is actual knowledge. And then if we don't get vidya, we will get avidya. What can you say? So-called knowledge. Yeah. Yeah. So these are two inputs to the intelligence. Yeah. So if you have actual knowledge, then the mind will be definitely in goodness, or even in the transcendence. Yeah. I mean, the intelligence can even go to the transcendental state. Yeah. Transcendent. Yeah. Transcendental. Yeah. Especially if the intelligence is in the transcendental state, then the mind will make very nice choices. So we'll make a circle around the mind here, because mind is really where it all happens. If I can be able to draw with this circle, yeah. Do it in this color. Yeah, blue color. Yeah, symbolize Krishna. If we're able to draw, let's see. Let's try again. Here we have a nice circle. Okay. Good. Can we use that one? Yes. Yeah, was that good? Yeah. So does that make sense for you all? And when the mind makes good choices, then it can also be transcendentally infused. Yeah. And then you have further on here you have the false ego. So the ego in itself, ahankara. Yeah. False ego. Yeah. Because it can also get the right, information. But definitely here it is definitely false all the way, because it identifies with Maya, or the illusory energy. But if you think about it in a different way, it creates identification. Yeah, see it in that way. Creates it creates I write small, creates false identification. Yeah. Main thing about ahankara is identification. Yeah. Who am I? Yeah. Aham. The word aham is there. Instead of n, we can just write m. Yeah. It becomes clearer. Aham, it says aham brahmasmi. Yeah. Ahamkara. Yeah. That's the thing. We can write it here. Aham Brahma Asmi. A statement of the Vedas. That's one of the most quoted in the whole Vedas. Aham Brahma Asmi. Yeah. So Ahamkara, it creates false identification. So that means not Brahman. Yeah. Does that make sense? So then what is Brahman? Finally we get there. Yeah, sorry it took a little while. So how can we get the right identification? Yeah. Right identification. Yeah. So that is Brahman. Yeah. So the Jiva, it is of Brahman. Yep. It's made of Brahman. Yep. What is Brahman? It's effulgence of Lord. Yep. It's the energy of the Lord. Yep. Energy of Lord. Yep. So in that way, we are also of that energy. But on the other side, you have also matter. That's also a Brahman. Yeah. You can say everything is of Brahman. Yeah. Yeah. So then we come to the thing that there is a distinction here. If you can just understand that Brahman is just a sum of all every it's the whole energy of the Lord. Yeah. So we are also part of that, but we are also, but that doesn't mean that we are Brahman in every single aspect of that, because we are small parts, yeah, of Brahman. Yeah, you say Amsha. Yeah, so instead of just saying we're all Brahman, because then we can think we can be Brahman per se, but we cannot, because we are small parts. Yeah, or sparks, rays of Brahman. Yeah, is that maybe that can do the job of explaining our situation. Race or Brahman. So in what kind of way we raise a Brahman? It's written like Surya, Amsha, Kirana. So that's in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and that means like sparks of the sun. Yeah. Sparks of the sun. So it means sun rays, like sun rays. Yeah. Yeah. Like sun rays, or yeah. Yeah. So it says Surya Kirana. Yeah. So sun rays means Kirana. Yeah. So the Amsha is like sun rays. Yeah. So we are Jiva Amsha. We're the parts of Krishna, small Amshas. Yeah. That means very small. Yeah. So we are very small. And again, very small what? parts of Brahman. Yeah. So that means not we are not, we are not the total Brahman. Yeah. Does that make sense? Very small parts of Brahman, not the total Brahman. Yeah. That's beyond our reach, to know what's going on in this world, where it's going to go, or anything. We can just have a small, little consciousness of that. So in the consciousness aspect, we can say we are conscious parts of the supreme consciousness. Yeah. Conscious part of the supreme consciousness. Can we say that? What is supreme consciousness? We could call para Brahman. Yeah. So in that way we can qualify the Brahman further. So we understand that we are not that para Brahman. We're Brahma Amshas. Yeah. You can write that here. Brahma Amshas. Yeah. Parts. Yeah. Para Brahman is Brahman, Brahman itself. Yeah. Sum total. Yeah. So do we understand Brahman now? I hope we do. Yeah. So we're yeah. So as we read here, according to the Vedic version, the Supreme Lord manifests and expands himself in innumerable expansions, of which the primary expansions are called Vishnu Tattva, we mentioned that earlier, and the secondary expansions are called the living entities. Yeah. So that is. So you can say somebody who can be in scripture. Sometimes there is incarnation of the Lord, and he is eulogized, he is prayed to as para Brahman. So we can also say that is actually Vishnu Tattva. He is always the all in all. Vishnu Tattva, as we wrote before. Yeah. And here we have the Jiva Tattva. Here. Yeah. So in one sense, one can call the Jiva also a Brahman. And it is also called Brahman many places. But the Jiva is neither the total Brahman nor the source of Brahman. It is created from the Brahman. Yeah. That we're going to learn in our Bhakti Shastra. We're studying the Ishopanishad. And it's explained there also. Because we are Brahma Amshas. We're parts of Brahman. Yeah. So what is Brahman? It is the energy of the Lord, as we wrote there. Yeah. And the Lord then, first stepping stone of realizing the Lord is to come to Brahman. Yeah. The effulgence of Brahman. Brahman, and then after that is a progression. Yeah. Brahman, and then Paramatma. You remember we mentioned Paramatma, the super soul, and then Bhagavan. Yeah, that's the stage of realization. First, yeah. So first we start here. Start, yeah. Start of spiritual life. Next, Paramatma, super soul. Super soul realization. Yeah. And then that is Sri Krishna. You can write even relationship. Yeah. Relationship with Lord Krishna. Yeah. Does it make sense? So in Brahman, in just Brahman realization, do we have any relationship with Lord Krishna there? No. Still didn't happen, right? If you don't have relationship with a person, what is it called? It's called impersonal. Yes, correct. So with Paramatma, then actually you get something personal. Yeah. It becomes more personal, but still it's not really, the real personal is coming actually in Bhagavan realization. But still it's, what can you call that? Let's just say it's a relationship, okay? Start a relationship, yeah. And then personal. Supremely personal, yeah. So it's super personal, yeah. We call it supreme personality of Godhead, yeah. So that means it's not just a little bit personal, it's supremely personal, yeah. In Paramatma realization, it's personal, but it can also be quite distant, or not so close, but it becomes really intimate in the Bhagavan realization. Supreme personality, yeah. That's because the Lord is the supreme personality of God, or Godhead. We don't have space to write that here. We just write God, it means the same thing, yeah. The supreme personality of God, yeah. So that means that Paramatma is not yet manifesting that supreme personality of God, yeah. Brahman is only the effulgence. So you can write here in Brahman. So what is Brahman also in another sense? Nobody, yeah. Is nobody, yeah. There's no body manifested, yeah. In the Brahman realization, the Jiva will identify with Brahman, which is formless, yeah. Indistinct. It's just everything, right? It's just like the light, yeah. Light of the sun, yeah. If I write that here, we can see, just the supreme light, yeah. It's a supreme light, yeah. And Paramatma, what is that? That is localized guide, yeah. So what is that in another sense? It is very, very clear that at that point one is having the guru, because it's the guru is appearing on this stage very strongly, like the guru to guide one back to the position of eternity, yeah. You can say that the taste of eternity is already starting in Brahman, but if one doesn't go all the way, there is a chance. If one doesn't really, settle, aruha krishena paramparam tata patantyada anadrita yushmadangra. If one doesn't catch the lotus feet of Krishna and do service to him, there is a chance said in Bhagavatam, that one patantyada, one may fall down from that. Yep. And then Bhagavan, that is the Supreme Personality of God, as we already wrote. We don't need to write that more. So Brahman, in other words, is a supreme light, but there is no body there. The bodies are, of course, manifested from Brahman, but the identification would be with Brahman itself, Aham Brahmasmi, which would be, just the existence. Yeah, you can write that here also. Supreme existence, or just existence. Yeah. 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 Actually, one is using more words to try and describe, the situation of Brahman, because you need a whole lot of words. So that's why, there's a lot of writings, because if one is into the Brahman realization, one has to all the time philosophize and have writings like this to settle the mind. Yeah. Also, they do in Buddhism the same thing. However, in Paramatma realization like this, one can, one can do service to the Guru like this. There is a personal relationship of service. Yeah, it's more manifested there. And it just continues all the way. Yeah, all over in Bhagavan realization. The service continues forever. Yeah, it just becomes more and more developed. Yeah, more and more loving service. Yeah, it goes, all the way over to Ananda. Yeah, Ananda and Prema. Yeah. So it's bliss, love and bliss. Yeah, is manifested there in Bhagavan realization, fully. Full love and bliss manifested. Yeah. It already starts, already in Brahman, one gets bliss. But it's just so much more in the higher levels. Yeah. Yeah, so this is just, we're trying to just explain, you can say quickly, in an easy way, the concepts. So I hope you got something out of this, and we will just continue just reading fully the purport here. By his personal expansion, he is manifested in various forms, like Lord Rama, Nrsimhadev, Vishnu Murti, and all the predominating deities in the Vaikuntha. Yeah. Yeah, so in that way, it already starts at Paramatma, actually, the personal relationship. Yeah, start of relationship. Yeah, yeah. And the predominating deities in the Vaikuntha planets, the separated expansions, the living entities, are eternally servitors. So I mentioned that the servitorship really is manifesting in pace with spiritual realization. Serving the Guru means serving the Paramatma, and eventually serving Bhagavan as a result of that. Yeah. So Prabhupada writes, the personal expansions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the individual identities of the Godhead, are always present. Similarly, the separated expansions of living entities have their identities. As fragmental parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord, the living entity also have fragmental portions of its qualities, of which independence is one. Every living entity as an individual soul has its personal individuality and a minute form of independence. By misuse of that independence, one becomes a conditioned soul. By proper use of independence, he is always liberated. In either case, he is qualitatively eternal, as the Supreme Lord is. In his liberated state, he is freed from this material condition, and he is under the engagement of transcendental service unto the Lord. In his conditioned life, he is dominated by the material modes of nature, and he forgets the transcendental loving service of the Lord. As a result, he has to struggle very hard to maintain his existence in the material world. Yeah. Prakriti stani karshati. Wasn't that written here? Yeah. Karshati. Yeah. Mama evam sha jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana manaha shashtan indriyani prakriti stani karshati. So in the prakriti, in the material world, paraprakriti and aparaprakriti. In that sense, we are paraprakriti. That means we are the energy of the Lord, meant to be enjoyed by the Lord. But in that sense, when we talk about Prakriti Sthani, we just talk about the material energy as it is. And that in this context, then the Prakriti doesn't mean the Jiva. Understand? There it just means then the 24 elements of material nature. Yeah. Because in that sense, then the Jiva is playing now in this context. It's playing the part of the Purusa as an enjoyer, and then it's struggling. Because when we as Jivas want to be enjoyer, I could write that also here. The Jiva playing Purusa, that equals struggling soul. Yep. And when you have the Jiva, serving the actual Purusha, yep. What is that? Is a happy Jiva. Yep. Then it's on the Ananda platform. Ananda Maya. So it said in our books that you have the stage of Ananda Maya. That's the stage when the Jiva has finally come out of the Prakriti Sthani, Karshati situation. No longer struggling with the material nature. Yeah. Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma na Sorchati na Kankshati. So there it says it's not hankering anymore and it's not sad anymore. That's, I don't remember exactly which verse number, but that's also in the Bhagavatam. Na Sorchati. Na Kankshati. Yep. So that means no sadness, no, not sad, not struggling. Yeah. So with that, we will stop for today. And the process for becoming a Jiva Mukta, for being liberated from the Jiva Bhuta situation, being conditioned, is to practice Bhakti Yoga, the spiritual life. And that's explained very much in the Bhagavad Gita. So let us all read Bhagavad Gita and learn more later. So for now we have just learned, the situation we have in the material world. And what was that? What was the Jiva? The Jiva is a conditioned living entity, also called Jiva Bhuta or Jiva Atma. It's conditioned by the material world. In one sense, also the material world is called Maya, and that we have described in another video. The Jiva under Mahamaya. Yeah. So that is Jiva under Maya is struggling Jiva. Yeah. Conditioned Jiva. Yeah. Let's just write conditioned Jiva. Yeah. And then we have the other kind of Jiva. Now you can guess. If you saw our other video, you will know what that is. It's a Jiva under Yoga Maya. So actually I removed the word struggle, because actually Jivas who are under Yoga Maya, they're struggling hard to serve the Lord. But that's a loving struggle in bliss. It's different from the frustrated struggle in conditioned life, where one is struggling with matter alone. You can see the difference. So here it is liberated Jiva. So the liberated Jiva can also have, the emotions of even struggling and be sad even, but that will all be connected directly with Krishna's service and with Krishna himself and Krishna's devotees. So that will actually still be in the liberated condition. So in that sense, one may see devotees' activities as being similar to the activities of conditioned people. Of course, you have devotees who may be just started on the path of liberation. They just started, in other words, bhakti yoga. And it may take some time before the fully manifested symptoms of liberation is happening there in that person. But by continuing on the path, surely it will happen. Because that path, as we mentioned, is on the Ananta stage. It is starting. It's starting. The liberation of the living entity is starting there, when the person has started practicing the bhakti yoga. And when the person has gotten the realization and the liberation in full consciousness of the Lord, then that Jiva will no longer be conditioned again. Ananta. There will not be any end to that. Yeah. So we'll be in the situation of enjoying the Lord's, experiencing the Lord's. It will take part in the Svarup Shakti of the Lord, which is full of Sat, Chit, and Ananda. Yeah. So it will be infused by that. By Krishna's Satchidananda Shakti, the potency, yeah. Potency, yeah. So we just see if we can get this whole text to the side, yeah. And the conditioned jiva is infused by Krishna's Asat, Achit, and Nir Ananda. Yeah, but actually, in one sense, there is the illusion that the jiva is actually enjoying there. So we can instead just write infused by Krishna's illusory. That would be more proper probably to write potency, or which is a reflection of the real potency. Yeah. So illusion means that it's reflecting the actual thing, just like we see on the screen. You can see a picture of a person, and that's what we mean with illusion. It is there, you can see it, but it's not actually the real. It's a reflection of the reality. Yeah. So that way, the conditioned jiva is infused by that potency, and that potency is then divided into two. So just so we get it, we try to be as thorough as possible. So I hope you appreciate that. We just want to cover it completely, and that is Avaranatmika Shakti, Avaramika Shakti, and Prakshepatmika Shakti. Yeah. So that's the, you can write here, the illusory two illusory potencies. Yeah. So one, Aranatmika Shakti. Okay. Two. Yeah. So Avranatmika Shakti is covering potency. Yep. Write that big so we can read it. Covering. Yeah. And Prakshapatmika Shakti is pulling. Yeah. So in other words, enticing us to go further into the material situation. Yeah. Yeah, we let it be here. We can read this. Yeah. So conditioned Jiva, in other words, is definitely struggling. It's very correct depiction of Krishna there. That we are covered over by the illusory energy, and we think status quo is okay, some or other. And covering also means we are covered by the ignorance, so we cannot actually see what is the actual situation. For example, we may think that we are the body because of the ego, the false ego. We'll say a false identification of the body with the self. Yeah, that's a covering potency of Maya who is doing that. And then Prakshapatmika Shakti will then say we should enjoy the body, enjoy the senses, and that will then be manifested in the pulling of the senses. Vacho Vegam, Manasa Krodha Vegam, Jiva Vegam, Udarupashta Vegam. Yeah. Which we talked about in the nectar of instruction. To actually be the guru, one has to, be above that pulling of the senses. Only to the necessary degree, one has to, satisfy the senses. We keep alive so that we can continue practicing bhakti. We keep healthy, we keep happy. But if we go too much into the pulling, then we get into the mode of passion, and that drags us down again to the ignorance, and we are again covered. And again, when we're covered, again we're pulled. So these two are just cooperating with each other. Avranatmika Shakti and Prakshapatmika Shakti are working, both of them in tandem, to condition the Jiva. By the Jiva chanting the whole name of the Lord, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. The Jiva is then getting free from that by contacting the Yogamaya, or also called Daivim Prakritim. Daivim Prakritim Arshita, Bhajanti Ananya Manaso. If one has a personal spiritual practice, chanting and hearing about Krishna, one is more and more protected by the Yogamaya potency. In that way, the covering and pulling of the inferior, or you can say the illusory potency, is actually the inferior Maya, you can say. The superior Maya is definitely the Yoga Maya, which is Krishna's pleasure, engagements. And when the Jiva takes part in that, Param Drishtva Nivartante, then the Jiva will no longer be interested in engagements with illusory potency, which is covering and pulling him. So we are learning all that from Bhagavad Gita. So thank you so much. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. We will